Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm actually outside today because I have my bread maker going and I've been cooking like all morning for the construction guys, so my kitchen is quite a mess and I wanted it to be quiet, but if you can hear the construction in the background, that's also going on, so not really you know, I just don't really have a super quiet space to talk to you guys. But today we are going to be doing another meal plan for maximum weight loss. So in these videos, I like to focus on calorie density to show you guys that you truly can eat more and weigh less. And that is all about not calorie restriction, but all about eating large volumes of food that can fill you up, where you feel full and satisfied and you don't feel like you're starving on a diet. So we want to focus on low calorie density, lots of vegetables, rice, beans, potatoes, fruits, vegetables, all the good stuff, beans, lentils, all that good stuff to keep us full and satisfied. And it makes it a lot easier to lose weight. I have lost 70 pounds eating this way, and it's all just about consistency and doing the best that you can from where you're at, and doing this from a place of love as well. So today in the video we are going to be making some really simple but also delicious oatmeal that I'm going to kind of show you a few ways to jazz it up. And then we have some red lentil chili for lunch, so I'll show you guys how I typically eat that and how I make like my 50-50 plate and all that. And then for dinner we're going to be making a lentil loaf, and this is one of my most requested like recipes whenever I go to a family gathering, or like when it's the holidays. Derek always asks me to make it because it's really good. If any of you are from the Midwest, meatloaf was like a thing when I grew up and we ate a lot of it. It's kind of gross to think about now, but this is basically like the same version of that but with lentils, and it's very filling, it's low fat, it's delicious, and people love it. So if you need something for Thanksgiving or Christmas or anything like that, whip out this recipe and let your family try it. So that is what we have for today, and without further ado, let's just jump into the recipes. Hey guys, so for breakfast today we're actually going to be making next level apple oats. That's what I call them, because I invented or discovered, I'm not sure if anybody's ever done this before, but the other day I bought this tea at Safeway and I was drinking it and I'm like, this reminds me so much of this like delicious oatmeal that I used to have. So I thought, why don't I just take my boiling water and put a tea bag in it and then cook my oats in it, and it is delicious. So here I have my tea bag and I'm just gonna pour this cup of boiling water over top, and I'm just gonna let this sit. So I will just let that steep for a few minutes, but you could really use any kind of tea that you want. I haven't tried it with this coconut one yet, but I feel like it would be so good. But I mean, they even have like this Celestial brand even has like apple, like a cinnamon apple spiced one, which I feel like would be so good. But this really just like gives it such a different flavor. Like if you have any tea that you like, preferably like a caffeine-free tea, highly recommend trying this because it really gives your oats a lot of flavor. So to make these apple oats, I'm gonna make this in my Instant Pot. All right, so I have this on the saute function and I'm just gonna add a little bit of water. And then this is one giant apple that I cut up, and I feel like it just cooks a lot better and it's easier to eat if you cut it into these little small tiny cubes. So we're gonna add this into here, and then I'm just gonna add a little bit of cinnamon. So when you do this like tea bag kind of thing, you don't really want to add tons of flavor because the tea will actually give the oats a lot of flavor. So I'm gonna let this cook for about a minute or two. My tea just needs to steep for 2 minutes as well. All right, so this has been cooking for 2 or 3 minutes, and now we're gonna add in the rest of our ingredients. So I have half of a cup of rolled oats here, and then I just have my cup of tea water. It's actually about 3/4 of a cup. So I'm gonna add that in. And then I'm just gonna cook this until the oats get nice and thick and the apples are all cooked. So usually this takes about 5 to 7 minutes. Alright, so our oats are done. You can see how thick they are. I like to cook them until they're really thick because I just don't really like runny oats. Alright, so now we can put this into a bowl. And you guys, this is really low in calorie density. So like for the apple, it's 100 calories, I'm guessing. And then the oats are like 150. And this makes a pretty big portion, if you can tell. So we're gonna add some stuff to this. I really like to add soy milk just because it gives it like this nice creamy flavor. Some of that in there. You could also add like coconut yogurt or any kind of plant yogurt to this. And then I'm also going to add maple syrup, but if you want, you could also just add like stevia, or you could even add some chopped dates into here when you're cooking it. I really love drizzling maple syrup on top. Then I'm going to add some raw buckwheat. So I really like raw buckwheat because it's nice and crunchy, and it just kind of gives it more of like a muesli crunch. And then just a little bit of coconut. So you could really jazz this up any way that you want. You could add like peanut butter on here if you really wanted to, or like PB2 powder would be better for weight loss. But I honestly wish you guys could smell how good this smells, because the oats, I just love cooking it with the tea because it has like so many different flavors in there. There's like cardamom and ginger and cinnamon and all these different flavors, and it just smells so good. So yeah, definitely try it, you guys. I am obsessed with this, and I am not really an oats person, but ever since I discovered this, I've been eating them every single day. So let me know in the comments box below if you guys have ever tried that kind of little hack, or if you try it, let me know and tag me on Instagram. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this recipe. It's super simple. It takes 5 whole minutes to make, and you will love it. So today we're gonna be making red lentil chili, and I'm gonna show you kind of the lazy way how to do it in the Instant Pot, but I will give you instructions for the stovetop as well. So basically we're gonna take our ingredients and throw them in the Instant Pot. Now you can saute your onions and garlic if you want. This is the lazy way, so we're not actually going to be using garlic cloves. I wanted these recipe videos to kind of show you guys how to switch things around and kind of incorporate different spices and things if you don't have all the ingredients, just so that like you don't feel like you have to go to the store all the time to make a recipe. So we got our onion here. Like I said, if you want, you could chop up garlic and saute onions and garlic. We have our bell pepper. We have 1 cup of red lentils. Now I buy organic. I never really rinse them, but you can rinse them if you want. We also have a can of fire roasted tomatoes. This is a 14.5 ounce can. So I like this recipe a little bit extra tomatoey. So I like to add either some tomato paste or like some strained tomatoes like this. So I'm gonna add some strained tomatoes. You could add the tomato paste, but I don't have tomato paste, so I'm just gonna add this. And then we're going to add in a teaspoon of paprika. This is like basically gone. Got a teaspoon of chili powder. And then we're gonna add a teaspoon of garlic powder. So you don't have to add this if you sauteed onions and garlic, but garlic powder is actually roasted, so it has like a different flavor than if you just sauteed like onions and garlic. And then we have 2 cups of water we're gonna add into here. We're also going to add in 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. This just gives it kind of like a nice sweet flavor. And then we're going to add in a tablespoon of vinegar. So use whatever vinegar you have. It just gives it a nice flavor like the maple syrup does. So I've used ume plum vinegar, I've used balsamic vinegar, I've used this apple cider vinegar. I think it all kind of tastes the same. You could also use red wine vinegar. And then I always like to add better than bouillon just because it gives it more of a like in-depth flavor, but you could skip this and you could just add salt at the end, or you could just have this totally salt-free as well. Then you just want to stir everything up really well. If you are doing this on the stovetop, you're going to want to bring this to a boil, reduce it to a simmer, cover it and cook it until the lentils are cooked. So it should take about 20 to 25 minutes. I'm going to put this on high pressure in my Instant Pot for 20 minutes, and let it naturally release. And then while this is cooking, I'm going to cook some rice in my rice cooker because we're gonna eat this with rice. All right, so our chili is all done. So I like to eat this with rice, and I just steamed some kale up for my 50-50 plate here. So I'm just going to add some chili on top. And then I usually like to put hummus on top of here. I don't have any of my homemade hummus right now, so I'm gonna use this Trader Joe's eggplant hummus. If you guys ever see this at your Trader Joe's, it's actually an oil-free hummus, and it's pretty low fat. It's only 2 grams of fat for 2 tablespoons. So I'm gonna add some of this on here. If you wanted to keep this overt fat-free, obviously don't add the hummus, or you could add hummus that doesn't have tahini in it. And then I always like to add a little bit of green onion to the top. This is just how I like to eat it. And then I always add hot sauce on here as well. So it's pretty simple. You guys can jazz up your meals really easily by just adding little additions to it. This is just how I really like to eat this meal. So we're just gonna go over our base ingredients here. We have a cup of green lentils. These are an actual mix of lentils, and they're sprouted, so use whatever kind of, you know, black or green lentils that you can get. Brown lentils work too. Then we have a half a cup of red lentils here. The recipe calls for a bell pepper, but I actually don't have one because my husband forgot to get it at the store, so I just had this mix of red bell pepper, green bell pepper, and mushrooms that I had in my freezer. So I'm gonna use this. Use what you have, you guys. A lot of these recipes are very flexible. You can kind of swap out lots of things. So mushrooms are actually really good in this recipe because it makes it very meaty. Then we have our chopped carrots, and I also didn't have celery, so I'm just using some celeriac from my garden. Here we have our onion and garlic that we're gonna be sauteing. And this is our cup of oats that I pulsed in the blender. So the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of oats pulsed lightly in the blender, but if you want to use just oat flour, you can just use 1 cup of oat flour, or you could even substitute just like a whole wheat flour if you really want to. And then we also have our 3 tablespoons of flax and our 6 tablespoons of water. So we're quickly just going to make our flax egg. All we do to do that is just mix these two together, and then we're just gonna let it sit while we do everything else. So I just like to put it together and whisk it a little bit, and then we'll just set this aside, and this is going to help bind everything together. All right, so we're gonna kind of make this into a 1-pan meal because who wants to do more dishes? I'm going to start by sauteing the garlic and onion. I like to usually use like a little bit of coconut aminos in place of water just because it adds more flavor to it, but you could also use soy sauce, or you could just use vegetable stock or water, whatever you have on hand. Going to add our onions and garlic in here. We'll just let this saute for about 5 minutes or until it starts to become fragrant and smell a bit. Alright, so now we are going to add 3 cups of water into here, plus the rest of our vegetables and lentils here. And then we're just going to bring this to a boil, reduce the heat to a simmer, cover it, and cook it until all the lentils are nice and cooked, so it's about 30 minutes. Alright, so now that this is done, what we're going to do is first add our flax egg into here. So see how like gelatinous this has gotten? It is so thick. And this is just gonna help bind all of the lentils and everything together. So add that in. So then we're going to add in our seasonings. Here I have some thyme from my garden. If you guys ever have fresh herbs in your garden, use those over dried ones because they're so much more pungent and flavorful. And then I have Italian seasoning, fennel, onion powder, and a little bit of cayenne because we like it kind of spicy. So we'll add that in. You can leave the cayenne out if you want. The fennel is what gives it a really nice meaty kind of flavor. So if you guys want this smoky, This isn't actually in the recipe notes, but if you want, you can add a little bit of smoked paprika or some vegan Worcestershire sauce. I always say that wrong. Or you could also add in a teaspoon of liquid smoke. So I'm just gonna add in some of this vegan Worcestershire sauce, however you say it. And then the last thing that we need to add in is our oats. So just add them slowly, especially if you're using like a whole wheat flour, but this should be pretty thick at the end. And all of this is just gonna help it bind together really well. And just mix it together until you don't have any more dry spots. So this recipe, we actually didn't add any salt to it, but if you enjoy salt in your diet, you can definitely add a little bit of salt. I like to add salt at the very end of my cooking because if you add it while it's cooking, it really dissipates a lot and you get a lot of the sodium, but you don't get a lot of the flavor. So just add in a little bit of salt if you want. I would add about a teaspoon and mix it in really well. And then all we're going to do is transfer this to a loaf pan. So you just want to use a non-stick loaf pan and transfer this in here, and then we're going to bake this for 30 minutes on 350 degrees. I like to always use the convection option on my oven. So if you guys have that, use it because it helps everything cook a lot more evenly. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. We're gonna put this in here and then just really kind of like smush it into the corners and make it as even as you can. This will dehydrate a bit because we're gonna cook it uncovered, but you just want to press it all firmly together. And we're gonna cook this for 30 minutes and then we're gonna take it out after 30 minutes, put our ketchup on top, and then glaze that for another 15 minutes in the oven. And that's pretty much it. Alright, so now that this has been cooking for a while, you can see that the top has hardened quite a bit and it's getting really dense. So we're just going to add some ketchup to the top. I don't really ever measure this. And then you'll just want to spread this out with a spatula. And then all we're going to do is just put this back in the oven for another 15 minutes and let the top caramelize. Alright, so this is all done. I've had it sitting here for about 30 minutes. You want to let it rest for a bit before you cut it. I just kind of made it look pretty. With this thyme on top, you can cut into this bad boy. And I'll show you guys a piece. And there you go. So I will usually put a side of mashed potatoes here or like potato fries. You could also eat this with a salad, but it's really simple to make. It's really thick, if you guys can see like the piece on the side, and you guys are gonna love it. Alright, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys try these out. I hope you love them. I will leave all the links and everything down below as always for you guys. And just remember to take your time with this. Don't strive for perfection. For me, like personally, I've learned a lot even from just losing the last 20 pounds again when I gained weight back. And what I've really learned is just to, like, I've found out who I am and what my tendencies are and what my personality is like. And I'm a Libra, so I really have to strive for like balance. And I've always tried, ever since I've basically started this channel, to be like really perfect with my diet and always eat clean and never eat like anything outside of those parameters. And personally, I've found over the years that like I just cannot do that. So for me, what works best is to do my absolute best as much as I possibly can. And for me, that's like 5 to 6 days per week. And this is how I lost the last 20 pounds as well. Focusing on calorie density, so having that 50-50 plate, joining, you know, the Eat Your Veg Challenge is the first week of every month. You guys can always join that as well. It's a really great jump start that me and Kiki share with you guys, and just to inspire you and to motivate you to eat more vegetables. But you're also lowering the calorie density of your food so much. So for me, like losing the last 20 pounds, this time I really took like a very balanced approach to it, and I didn't try to be like super perfect all the time. And I think that it really helped me because I can be really strict with myself for most of the time, but I need to also be lenient with myself and have realistic expectations for my life and like going out to eat and things like that. So I found just like a few little tips that really helped me, and one of those is to never take anything off the table. Like obviously I'm vegan, I will always be vegan, I'm an ethical vegan for the animals, but for like oils and processed foods and stuff like that, if I say like I'm never gonna eat those foods again, it's like the first thing that I want to do. So I don't take anything off the table anymore. I tell myself I can eat whatever I want to eat, but I keep calorie density always in mind. So like if my husband is eating a bag of chips and I'm like, I really want some of those chips, I will grab like a tiny little bowl and I'll fill the bowl up, and you know, there might be like 1 serving of chips in there. I'll have those chips, I'll eat them really slowly, and then I find that like totally satisfies my craving and like it's gone. And what I found is like if I don't allow myself to do that, like once a week or twice a week or whatever, then when the time comes where I'm at like my breaking point, I eventually just end up buying my own bag of chips and eating the entire thing, and it just kind of turns into like not a good thing. So always kind of check in with yourself, see where you're at, like see if there are things that you're craving. Maybe you can replace those cravings. Like a lot of times I don't really eat like tortilla chips because I can make them in a healthy way. Like I will always make my oil-free cut up tortillas with lime juice and salt on them, and usually that is just like my go-to. But like potato chips, I sometimes kind of cave with those, and I feel like there isn't a good replacement for those. But there's so many things that I find that are just like very easily replaceable, and it's not like a huge sacrifice to make the healthier choice. So I always keep that in mind, and always just keeping calorie density in mind. And if I have something that is very calorie dense, I have a very small portion of it, and then like I fill up on my healthy fruits and vegetables. So the last tip that I'm going to tell you guys, because I know the holidays are coming up, I know Halloween is coming up and Thanksgiving, all these things, and you're probably going to want to eat foods that are like off plan. So a strategy that works for me when I'm going out to eat with my husband, which we only do like maybe once a week or once every other week, but instead of like going there and being really hungry, and you know, sometimes you go to a restaurant and people will say like, oh, just order a side salad and eat that first, or order like a side of vegetables or 5 sides of vegetables and eat that first. A lot of times it's expensive because you're ordering a salad with absolutely nothing on it and they're still going to charge you the same price, or you're ordering like 5 or 6 tiny little sides of steamed vegetables. So what I actually do now, and what I did to lose the last 20 pounds, was I would basically just make like 2 pounds of steamed zucchini or steamed broccoli, and I put a little bit of nutritional yeast on there, maybe like a little bit of salt or lemon juice, and I would take that with me in the car on the way to the restaurant. Well, we live an hour away from most restaurants, so I would just like munch on that the whole time, and by the time that I got there, I was like, my belly was full, but I still wanted to have that like vegan burger or those vegan cauliflower wings or whatever it was. But I found myself, when I put this tactic into place, I found myself having like half of a burger, or like maybe 2 cauliflower wings, or like 3 or 4 fries, instead of ordering a burger, cauliflower wings, and a whole basket of fries to myself. Just being able to kind of think ahead and plan ahead and still enjoy all the things that you want to enjoy, but just knowing that like obviously a vegan burger and deep fried cauliflower wings and deep fried french fries are very calorie dense. So the way that I just kind of tackled that problem while still enjoying my life and going out to eat was by filling up on low calorie density foods on the way there or before I left. So that's just a little tactic you can use if you're going to like a Halloween party, if you're going to Thanksgiving with your family, Christmas dinner. Just eat a bunch of veggies before you go, and I feel like steamed veggies are the best. So I feel like they're just more filling than like a salad. So I usually always just go for broccoli or zucchini, and I will just make like 2 pounds of that, and then I'm done. Like I can really truly sit down at dinner at a restaurant and eat to satisfaction because I'm truly not like that hungry. So I hope this video is helpful for you guys. I hope all the tips were helpful. Leave any comments or questions or video ideas down below, and I will see you guys on the next one.